Listen to this episode if you want a breakdown of how one of my clients kind of went from stagnant into getting into major retailers and having opportunities flow at her. I am so excited to bring this episode to you. You know that I've really been leaning into these case study style episodes, whether it be my clients, big name brands like Coach or Flowdesk or all of these different things. We have some extras coming, but one of my clients recently got an email from Anthropologie wanting to carry her products in their stores. I posted about it and of course immediately got tons of questions of how does this work? How do I do this? What did this person do? And what does that process really look like? So I want to discuss that here today. I just want to give some context. I always like to do this just so you know kind of what's at this business. I of course keep everything anonymous, but I do give some context here. First things first is this client came to me early 2025. It was probably like spring or so. We started working together. She felt like she was blending in. She wasn't making many online sales. She does have a seasonal business and that was not really on season for her. She wasn't really making many sales at this time. You know, she was showing up daily, but she really wasn't feeling like she had too much growth. She joined PTP, which is my program to help you get to consistent sales online. And we basically tackled 3 major buckets in her business that allowed her to get to this point. We did a lot of different things, but there was 3 major things that allowed her to get this opportunity. And that is what we're going to talk about today is those 3 buckets. I do just want to say that this process could look very different for other people, but these 3 core pillars are something that everybody needs if they do want to be in a major retailer. This actually was a question that I got by one of you. You basically messaged me in our Small Business Cafe, which is our free podcast community. And they said, I saw you posted that a client of yours got into Anthropologie, and I have always wanted it to be in big retailers, but it feels so out of reach from where I am right now, and I have no idea how to even do it. Can you explain more? That is what we were talking about today. I've had clients get into Anthropologie, Urban Outfitters, Trader Joe's, Target, Sam's Club, Sephora, all over the board in some of these major retailers. And we're going to talk about some of that process here. Now, of course, this process can look very different for other people. In this case, this client actually had Anthropologie come to her. You can actually take control of this, whether people are coming to you or you are going to people. There are certain actions that we can take. So we are going to dive into that today. We're going to talk about what are the 3 major changes, what are some things that she didn't do and didn't need to do to get this opportunity, and what some of our major takeaways are within this process and how it really overall works for her. Before I do that, I just want to take 10 quick seconds to quickly introduce myself in case you are new here. My name is Madison Page. I am the host of the Small Business Growth Podcast. I am a business growth specialist. I help turn small businesses into brands that can really fulfill their household name, really have big ambitions, and become that category leader that they really want to. Today, I have my Anthropologie shirt on. I did get this at Anthropologie. I was like looking through my closet. What do I want to wear to record this episode? We're wearing something from Anthropologie because we are sinking on into this conversation here today. So like I said, this client came to me. I talk a lot about this difference between small business versus brand. She was kind of in this small business bucket. She's in a bucket that is saturated. There was a lot of people selling her product, but there really wasn't a premium. So when anybody comes to me and they first kind of tell me about their brand, I do, of course, do competitive analysis research on their brand in their industry, what's going on. One of the first things that I saw was that there was nobody within her industry that really said, I am the go-to in this industry yet. A lot of people were creating it. She has a common product that you can find on Etsy and all of these other things, but nobody really said, this is what I'm saying I specialize in. I'm going to be the brand. I'm going to do it really right. And that was something that stood out to me right away. And I knew that because she has such a seasonal business and there's people that really, really love what her product is, that we needed somebody to become the industry leader. And so basically that is what we did. She was kind of stagnant. She also had a diversified product suite because what she was doing was just trying to go wide as opposed to going narrow and deep. So what we did is I cut out the fluff of her product suite. We went narrow and deep and simplified everything. And then we really focused on her branding, and then we did some other things. So the first thing that we did was really make her specified as a premium brand within this specific product. A very common mistake that I see people make is they try to be an umbrella, really wide brand, whether that be skincare, whether that be candles, whether that be whatever, is you try to diversify in a a lot of different ways, having a ton of products, having a bunch of different product lines, just because that's where you make sales is when you launch something new. However, when you are trying to get into retailers, many brands get into retailers with one major product. Now, if you have more than one major product, that's okay. But just realizing that they are looking for people to specialize and to perfect something. And so this was something that, we did with her is we cut the fluff. We did a competitive analysis and we realized nobody had positioned herself as the premium of their industry. So we captured it. What we did is we completely rebranded her business. We elevated everything she was doing. We elevated her packaging. What went from kind of like the brown craft paper to being a custom packaging that she had. What we did is we moved her from a small business into a brand. When you come in contact with her brand now, she has photos, she has branding, she has packaging that when people come in contact with her brand, they say, oh, this is a really cool brand. This is a professional brand. It doesn't look like somebody just like creating it in their kitchen, whether that's what she's doing or not. This is something that people are getting created and like it is a structured brand. It looks professional and it has authority behind it. We've rebranded, elevated, and positioned her product as the brand within the industry in a sea of all of these other small businesses. So now if you see everybody else in her industry on a platter in front of you, you see a bunch of all of the same, and then her brand, which looks elevated, looks professional, and it doesn't have to cost a lot. Honestly, her packaging, it honestly may have actually cost her less to have custom packaging than doing the packaging she was already having that was making her blend into everything else. So there's a big misconception here that this custom packaging has to be incredibly expensive. It doesn't. I promise. For some brands, if you really want specific boxes and things like that, that could become expensive, but it doesn't have to be. And so the packaging really didn't cost her much more. It just costs you more upfront as opposed to being able to buy 100. She had to buy whatever, 5,000 or whatever that MOQ was. And so first step was that we created her as the premium brand within her industry. It was a gap that we saw. Nobody had claimed it. And even if people have already claimed it, we can still create a white space. It's still necessary for you to be, at least when people come in contact with your brand, to see that it looks like a premium brand. That doesn't need to be that it's expensive, but it does need to be that it is premium, that it does look elevated and it does look polished. The next thing is that we got clear on her message. When people come in contact with your brand, when a retailer comes in contact with your brand, you have to think of this as like a merchandiser is coming around, like a brand merchandiser for a very specific product or sector of these retailers. They have buyers basically that are based on section. So whether it's supplements, whether it's fragrance, whether it's jewelry, whether it's clothing, whatever you're trying to get into, they have merchandisers for those very specific things. And then they're searching it up and they're trying to find people when they have an idea, when they need something new, when they have a gap, they're trying to find people. And so when they do, we need them to relate to what you have and at least like the message. Now, of course, this is something that you need when you're selling direct to consumer as well, is you need a message behind your brand. So we got clear on her message. We knew she was the standout, but we also knew she was in a saturated industry. Again, even though she's the premium, there's still all of these other people here. So not only can we differentiate based on aesthetics at the end of the day, we have to differentiate based on people liking her brand and what her brand stands for. What is her message? What is her story? What are we saying that this is doing? What is the problem that this product is solving? And we double down on getting people to understand why they needed this product over every other product that they are buying right now. So we didn't just sell her just because she had a brand. We also sold her message, which is really, really important because these retailers come and you have to realize that you are a representation of this brand, of this other business. And so they want to like what you stand for, what you look like. And so we both first structured on the branding as well as the messaging. And then the next thing that we did is we focused on visibility and searchability with her brand, because instead of her being this wide product suite, we narrowed her down into this very specific product that she is selling. So it increased her searchability, it increased her SEO. When people do search for her product, again, she's the only one that looks premium. And so we knew that when people were looking for it, we wanted her to pop up. So we focused on visibility. We got her seen. We got her in like PR opportunities, a ton of different PR opportunities. She was on the news. We did a major growth phase after we did this, after we got clear on her message, and we did a ton of like organic marketing to get that message out there to make sure that she had a really good foundation, knowing what was going to help her. Then we focused on that visibility and that searchability. So when people find her, now it's easy and it's natural for her to kind of keep moving from there. If she is truly the leader in her industry, we needed people to be able to find her. You can't only look good, you also have to perform well from a strategy perspective. So we got this gal seen, we got this gal heard, and we figured out how to get people to find her. Now, these were the 3 buckets that we did. We talked about branding, we talked about messaging, and we talked about searchability. Now, we were doing other things at the same time. We worked on her pricing, we worked on her marketing, we worked on her website. We really structured everything into this seamless sales system, which is what we do, again, inside of PTP, is we help you get to this direct-to-consumer seamless sales system. The things that this client did not have when she received this email from Anthropologie: she doesn't have 10,000 followers, she doesn't have $100,000 months in sales, she didn't do a ton of ad spend. We may have played with some ads, but it's not like she was spending $100 a day on ads. There wasn't anything out of the norm that this client had. I'm sure you listening can do this exact same thing right now. Literally the day she got the email from Anthropologie, she was on a coaching call with me saying after this season, she really wants to focus on trying to get into major retailers. She didn't think right now this was something that we could really do with the process that she has, and they came to her. Oftentimes, this is a telltale sign that we are playing small in the objectives that we're actually doing. And I said to her, if you have the capacity, now is the time. We could get into some of these stores. We can start doing these things. We have the proof of concept with all of these other things that are going on in her business. And literally an hour later, I got the message from her that she got an email from Anthropologie saying, hey, we found you. We love you. They were from her category, and we would like to talk about what it would look like to be in our store. If you want to set up a call, we can set up a call. Hey, I'm jumping in here for 30 quick seconds for those of you who are loving the podcast but wish we could dive deeper into every episode topic together. I have actually started a completely free podcast community called the Small Business Cafe for exactly this purpose. Inside this community, we dive deeper into every podcast episode, provide bonus resources, and actually host completely free monthly coaching calls with me, so you can get your questions answered. Plus, you get to submit your questions for our Friday coaching session episodes and connect with other founders too. If you have been loving being a part of this podcast and want to connect with other brand founders, plus get extra support from me, click the link in the show notes below to join. Within 6 months of doing these major changes and taking some very directed strategic action, Anthropologie said, basically, they were searching for a brand for her exact product, and she popped up. On the call that she had with them, they said that they liked her brand image. They said that they liked what it would look like on the shelves. They said that the message resonated with them, and they said that she seemed to be the premium in her industry. What they said that they did is they went into ChatGPT and they said, find me a brand that sells this exact product, and this brand popped up. They basically said that they went through all of these other options, and they didn't seem like they were up to the category that they wanted within their store on their shelves because of her premium packaging. They were something that she wanted on her shelves that would align with the vision that Anthropologie would want. And then they went to her website, everything looked polished, and then they reached out. So realizing what that tells you is the searchability is how they found her, because AI is the next step of searchability. So we can't just be focusing on Google ads in order to get searchability. It's not going to work anymore. Google ads already have a lot less traffic because ChatGPT is the newest search engine. So she had the searchability was key first, was the first point of these people finding her. And then when they came in contact with the brand, differentiating from everybody else was the number one thing that allowed for them to reach out to her instead of somebody else, because she looked like a solid brand. And then the next step was they vetted the brand and they liked what they saw. So what this tells you is that what is important to retailers, we have to understand, is a little different than what's important to direct-to-consumer customers. Now, all three of these things are also necessary for direct-to-consumer, but if we're looking for retailers, you have to think about who's buying from you. It's people that have a very specific goal, a very specific purpose, and they're also looking to buy for a store knowing that you are going to be a representation of them. You are going to be a representation of what their brand stands for, what their image looks like. They have to be able to actually visualize you on the shelves of Anthropologie in order to be an Anthropologie or Trader Joe's or Urban Outfitters or even Target, whatever that might be. It has to be something that they want to put on the shelves. So we have to think about right now, do you feel like the brand that you are building is something that they would feel comfortable with? This is a telltale sign to make sure that you focus on the details early on. You don't have to wait until you have X, Y, and Z accomplishment in order to actually focus on the details. You have to understand what retailers are looking for. You are a representation of their brand, a brand that looks good on the shelves, quality products, something that they can make money on. All of those things are things that they care about. And so a lot can change in just a couple of months with strategic, dedicated growth. Again, I just want to reiterate that this client came to me, went from feeling stagnant, blending in, looking like everybody else in her industry, to being an industry leader, getting approached by Anthropologie. She sent me another message this morning that said she had this this huge profile, buy a wholesale order from her to be inside of their stores. They have hundreds of thousands of followers on Instagram. People see her as the authority. They know the product. The product is like a household name product. However, it would be too obvious because she is the only one that's doing this if I told you what the product is. But people are searching for this product right now. People are searching for it. They want it in their stores. And she is now, when people are looking, she is the only one that makes sense. This was strategic for her brand. This is what a true growth strategy does to you. This is what having knowledge of what this process really goes for. This is what having strategy for the standouts really mean, is that when these retailers are looking for you, you are what pops up. You are what stands out. You are who they want, and they actually come to you. Something that I think is really important to note in this entire process is that when we made these shifts, opportunities came to her. Yes, she is still seeking out opportunities in PR, on the news, doing all of these other things. But she had influencers coming to her. She has retailers coming to her. She has wholesalers coming to her. She has big profiles coming to her because she is the category leader. So when they are looking for her product, she is the one that feels polished, that feels professional, and that people want to be a part of. We have to think of that when it comes to creating our brand. So what I want you to do is I want you to understand that this is one area of how to get into a retailer, is that they find you. Oftentimes, it's very common that retailers do find you. However, you can reach out to retailers and get into their stores, but you still need these things there. Because if they look, and if you say, hey, I want to be in your store, and they look at your website and they're like, nope, don't want that brand to represent me. I don't want that brand associated with my brand. They're immediately going to ixnay you. You don't need a ton of followers, a ton of sales. She designed her own website. She didn't pay for somebody to do it, but you do need what people are looking for. You do need messaging. You do need branding. You do need, the elements, the foundations of a brand that make sense for this. There's a lot of ways to get into retailers. Some people go to markets, but everything that they do, you need these pieces. You need a brand. You need solid messaging. You need them to come to your brand and say, okay, I know that I want to be associated with this product. And that is something that it's not hard to do, but it's absolutely necessary. And if you don't take anything else from this episode, I want you to take that a lot can change in just a couple of months. This is literally 6 months after we started working together, was that all of this kind of conspired. We situated her pricing. We situated a lot of different things, her marketing. We worked on a lot of stuff throughout our time together. But what it came down to was that she had these points really, really solid. She had very strategic action. She took large growth steps these last 6 months. So much can change in 6 months. She went from being stagnant to having incredible sales. She went to just kind of blending into everybody else to literally being the standout within her industry. She went from truly not really knowing what to do next to having a really solid growth plan and having opportunities flow to her. When people say my growth kind of just happened in business, is because they have important foundations set and structured that it allowed for these opportunities to really flow to you. When my clients, I've had many clients get to this point that they feel like they started operating at an element of like as a brand, as, taking this bigger step, and then all of a sudden opportunities flow to them. Don't feel like you can't achieve the things you want to achieve right now, or at least working towards it. We knew this is what we were working towards, was getting her into big retailers and to trying to get her as this industry leader within the first week of working with us. Literally the first call, I said, this is what we have to do. Looking at your industry, this is how this is going to separate you and really make you stand out. That is what is necessary in order to make this happen. And we made it happen in just 6 months. A lot can change in 6 months. If you're listening to this being like, Maddie, there's no way I can do that right now. You have to just have the proper foundations. People can find you, or at least when you reach out to them, you are going to look like the polished professional business that you are looking for. Now, I know, again, I say this all the time, that business growth is nuanced. Business opportunities are nuanced. However, there is a mode and a method behind all of the madness. There's certain checkboxes that you need. There's certain things that retailers look for, and like you just have to know what they're looking for, and we have to put those into place. What we did is we made sure she was making a solid profit on a wholesale order before we started to do some of these, because that is what is absolutely necessary. If she wanted to be in big stores and have big orders, that is something that was necessary. Now, just knowing, when you work with Anthropologie, they basically came to her and said, this is what we think from your brand. This is how we want to roll it out. And, that is what she is doing now. And they're in the process of that. Of course, I'll always keep you posted. But when you have these big goals, we have to take strategic action for the months leading up to it before you can actually achieve it. And I think that is just such a good model here. So I just want to go back to the initial question that was asked, just making sure that we do that. She said, I saw you post that your client of yours got into Anthropologie, and I have always wanted to be in big retailers, but it feels so out of reach and I have no idea how to do it. First, it's not out of reach. You can absolutely do it with the product that you have. This might be a less saturated industry or something like that. There might already be a premium within your industry, but you do still need these pieces no matter what. I don't know what your business is. I don't know what your product is, but you do need certain elements, but you absolutely can do it, and you can do it sooner than you think you can do it. You just need to look, at least somewhat polished. You need to look like something they would want to have on the shelves. You need to understand what it takes to really get into some of these stores and the information that they are going to be looking for on your website, on your socials, in your packaging and all of that, as well as in these conversations, but it is not out of reach for you. How do you get started? Is you start acting as if you are somebody in those stores. What do you foresee if your business was in Anthropologie, Urban Outfitters, your dream brand, Sephora, Ulta? I hear all sorts of different businesses that people would love to be in eventually. If you see your business there, what does it look like? What does it look like on the shelves? What is necessary in order to make that happen? And of course, there's a lot of strategic things, but these are 3 that we definitely really need to make sure that you have. We need to have your brand looking up to snuff. We need to have your messaging being something that, people feel really called to and really magnetized to, and we need people to be able to find you. We need searchability and we need visibility. And these are all things that we were able to do. We worked together in that capacity, and that was 6 months ago. And this client was probably right where you are listening to this right now, not sure how to do that, kind of blending in, really, really wanting to. And now she's got major opportunities, tons of momentum in her business. And I am so excited to see where it goes. You will know this name brand. She will be a household name someday. And I am so excited to watch it happen, and truly just always so grateful, so proud to just be a part of her growth journey. So just wanted to share this story with you. It was a question that I got a lot in my DMs after posting it on Instagram. If you want to stay up to date on some different things my clients are doing, you can always follow me on Instagram as well at This Is Madison Page. Would love to see you there. If you like these episodes, let me know. I love a good case study. I think that it's really helpful to hear just like the overall process. Again, as an always disclaimer, business growth is nuanced. Your business support, your business information, your business growth plan needs to be nuanced as well. That is why I do what I do, is because you have to be able to have a little bit of nuance to all of it, because every industry, every product, and every person is a little bit different. So I hope you have a lovely day. Make sure that you subscribe to the podcast. We put out new episodes every Tuesday and Friday. If you liked this one, there's a lot more to come. I love you. I'm rooting for you. I'm in your corner always, and I will see you in the next episode. If you found today's episode helpful and are looking for more tangible ways to grow your business, make sure you are subscribed to the show. If you want to dive deeper into this topic more, click the link in the show notes and join our completely free podcast community where we dive into every single podcast topic, as well as give some bonus support and free coaching calls. And finally, if you are interested in getting my eyes on your business to find your hidden opportunities to scale, apply to work with me one-on-one in the show notes or on our website. Remember, it's not enough to listen. Don't forget to implement too. I love ya. I'll see you in the next episode.